We work with a lot of really talented people that could probably figure this out and, work with the SBA. But let's be real, when you're getting one of these loans, I mean, it is like a marathon, not a sprint. You're having to pull documentation, statements, just like paperwork out the wazoo. We make this whole part of it easy. And, sometimes the bank comes back to us and they're like, hey, in year 2, month 7, we need the cost of goods to say this. And, what if like you're busy running your business? You don't really have time to go back and fix that on the business plan. We have a team of 23 people. We've got someone on the ready at any time to make the changes that we need to make to get, any, revisions that need to be made done so that, we're not holding up the deal. It's not that we finish it quickly because we do, but also, on the back end, if it's been a couple of months down the road and underwriting's like, we need to see it a little bit differently, we're on board for that. And, it's our goal to get the client across the finish line too.
Welcome, listeners. Today, I have the distinct honor and privilege of inviting a very interesting couple on the show today, Bethany and Ross McClellan. Bethany is the founder of Rapid Business Plans, and Ross is not only her husband, but director of product development. And they've got a business, a service that really is invaluable to entrepreneurs that are looking to expand and grow their business or acquire other businesses. And I'm going to let them give us the 30,000-foot view of what they do, but I can just say this. It's an awesome service that most of us entrepreneurs don't have the time to do on our own, but need it done, executed quickly, efficiently, and effectively so we can continue our plan. So Bethany, Ross, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Wow. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you bet. So I'm going to start with you, Bethany, because I know you founded this business in 2015. We were talking. So give us kind of the backstory, the how and the why. Did you end up here, and what do you guys do specifically?
Well, I had started the company back in 2015 doing hourly consulting with small business owners and helping them improve their financial performance, like their profit and loss performance, and had pretty good success with that from the get-go. But then also early on, I had a lender in my networking group, my BNI group. She asked me if I knew how to write a business plan because she was working on an SBA 504 deal for a barber and beauty academy, and they needed a business plan for it. And I had never written one before. I didn't go to business school, but, I figured it out really quickly. And that was for BBVA. And we still work with those lenders today. They really loved that first business plan that I wrote. So that really gave me some good, confidence behind, pursuing that as a vector of revenue for the company. And then when I found, a software that made it easier, and then I started scaling the business and hiring people, that's when, we really started focusing really on business plans full time and left the hourly consulting.
Wow. Okay. So you eased into it from a tangential direction, huh?
Yeah. Complete accident.
I see that a lot. So you had no business plan to get into the business plan business, but here you are and very successful.
Exactly.
Well, I find that seems to be the case with a lot of entrepreneurs that I know, personal experiences. And, our business plan consists of the back of the napkin that we are scribbling out on when we're sitting at the brew pub on Friday.
Right, which has its own merits. Just don't ever show it to a banker.
SBA won't take that as part of the.
They don't. They can't. They can't unsee it.
Yeah, they can't unsee it. Okay, so this is 2015. So this is about 8 years ago or so that you made the switch to go kind of full. So what's going on now? What type of clients do you serve? I mean, just give us the landscape of everything you're seeing these days.
Well, I can speak to that. Certainly, I built my business on writing business plans for companies getting SBA and USDA loans. And we really found kind of a gap in the marketplace too with feasibility studies. So for a lot of the USDA loans, which tend to be rural loans, but for the USDA, and that's the U.S. Department of Agriculture food supply chain program, that actually doesn't have to be in a rural area for the food supply chain program. But it is, just a box to check off for these loans is to have a feasibility study with it. So, we do those feasibility studies. We usually complete them within 3 weeks. And then our business plans, which is the backbone of our business, we write those for our SBA and USDA clients. And we usually complete them in about 4 business days. So we know that, it's important to get that money into business owners' hands, and we don't want to be holding up the deal.
Wow. Did you say 4 business days? You're able to create this feasibility study or actually this business plan and from soup to nuts?
Yeah. Fortunately, we have 23 people on staff right now, and we kind of have sliced and diced up some specialties within there. And because we've specialized with our staff, we are able to complete business plans usually in 4 days.
Wow. Wow. Okay. That's pretty impressive because, again, just thinking about what's involved in that. I mean, one of you speak to, what does a business plan really look like if you're going to go to the SBA or the bank? I mean, what is it that they're after? Is it just kind of just a vision of where you're going to go? Or, I mean, how detailed are these things and do they need to be?
Ross, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. All right. So, basically, the whole purpose of the business plan is, the bank wants to make sure that they're going to be made whole at the end of the day. Right. So we really want to do a strong executive summary, real strong ownership structure section. You got to look at the key demographics, talk about the location, the facilities, look at the sources and uses for the, how the loan's going to be, the money's going to be allotted. We do 36 months of monthly profit and loss, all the written assumptions, everything that, your typical SBA underwriter is going to want to see in a business plan. Yeah. We do it really quick, put it together in 4 business days because we don't want to hold up your deal. We, really good feedback from bankers who, will send people to us all the time because they know that, hey, you really need a strong business plan in order to get your deal. And I was a banker I spoke to not too long ago. We were at a retreat and he came up to me and said, Ross, the last 2 deals that I sent to you, I don't know if my clients would have got their loan if it hadn't been for your all's business plans. And he also told me that it really helped him when he looks at our business plans, it helps him with his, pre-flight credit memos that he puts together for his bank. He's like, I'm not trying to plagiarize you or anything, but really helps me. It helps him out, with what he, his responsibilities and things that he needs to send to, his underwriter. So we do, that's what we do every single day, write business plans, and it's we're definitely subject matter experts in that field.
So a business plan really then is for someone who's not familiar with going through the lending process or whatnot. That's really the meat of the matter, right? I mean, because you're talking acquisition or a growth plan, maybe a start. So there's a lot of blue sky there, right? And so really it's the heart of, for lack of a better term, a sales pitch to the bank saying, this is what we think we're going to be able to do. And this is why we think we're going to be able to do it, right? Not just because I've got experience and maybe in the industry or as a manager or whatever, but this is this particular business at this point in time in this location, why we think it's going to be successful. But you said something here too. You're also going out and doing like 36 months of P&L projections.
And balance sheet and cash flow projections, because we want to, make sure that the deal is going to cash flow too.
It's amazing. And, so not only are you really selling this to the bank, but it seems to me you've got to have some stories. You deliver this report to the entrepreneur or the wannabe entrepreneur, and they review. Does it help them to visualize this process? Like, okay, because I haven't really thought through all these numbers or done quite the market analysis I should do. We always want to fire and then aim and whatever. And I know a lot of people like that, but when you guys put it in black and white on a piece of paper and say, or maybe 30 pages or whatever, you really paint the picture and maybe opening the eyes if you had any of those aha moments with some of your clients. Mm-hmm.
Paul, we get to work with some really interesting people. I mean, we work with like a couple of, believe it or not, more than one macaroni and cheese franchise. And these guys are really talented people. And, they're making a lot of money, a lot of profit margin on their macaroni and cheese. And then we work with this other company that we did their business plan a few years ago, but they actually take out usable parts out of salvaged BMWs and sell them on eBay. And they make a tremendous amount of money doing this. And we get to work with people that make money in all different clever sorts of ways. But what we do too is because we know our people that we work with are, some are savvier than others, but we know that, our clients are very good at what they're doing for a living, and not everyone has that fiduciary backbone. And so we actually, with all of our business plans that we do, we include an hour of coaching on the business plan or an hour of coaching on the feasibility study. And we work with the client and make sure they understand, if they didn't have a whole lot of input into what we produced, we want to tell them, hey, here's, you can use these assumptions essentially as a sales plan here, on some metrics that you want to hit to get these goals so that you can make sure that you're paying back your loan. So we don't want to, just give the folks a report and say, have at it, good luck.
Yeah.
We really want to, prepare our clients to get their loan because, this is important to us too.
Well, that's interesting. So that probably is reflective of your consulting starts, right? I mean,
Sure.
you're consulting with businesses, because really that's what this process is, it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
So Ross, product development, what is that? Is this new areas you guys are pushing into, or just expansion and awareness of what you are doing so well right now for everyone?
Yeah, product development is just talking about, just putting the plan together, the outreach. I talk with, many bankers and brokers, just kind of spreading the word about us and what it is that we can do to help them and their borrowers out. And I think kind of to Bethany's point just a little while ago, talking about how, we do provide the coaching. We want to make sure that our clients feel prepared and understand their business plan. The first thing that we want to do is have a 20, 30-minute discovery call with the client. So if a client is interested in purchasing a business plan or feasibility study from us, I will be the one that conducts that call. And during that call, I ask them as many questions as I possibly can about their business. And during that time, there are some moments that come up. Some of the questions I asked might be something that the borrower wasn't quite necessarily thinking about. And after the call, I provide them with a business plan questionnaire. Shouldn't take the client more than maybe 15 or 20 minutes to put together, but it's got pretty good questions that are, kind of baseline questions that we would need for a business plan. So some of it might be repetitive, from what, the conversation we had during that discovery call, but again, it does make the borrower kind of think a little bit, and brainstorm to complete that questionnaire. Then once we have that, we just ask for our fee up front. So if there's any documentation that we need, if it's an acquisition, we like to see some, at least the previous years and year to date profit and loss from that business. For instance, we like to see a resume or a bio for anyone that's got at least 20% or more ownership in the company. So I'll request, and if there's anything else I can think of, from that discovery call, I'll have that in an email that I'll send to the client. It's organized so they know what all that we need. And then from there, it's just that 4 business day turnaround time. But I do believe that throughout the development of the business plan, we definitely, the clients should feel very comfortable about what they're getting into, once we're finished.
That's great. I'm glad you addressed that, because that was a question of mine. What is the actual process? So basically, it's pretty simple. So that initial 30 call, you kind of do a download, ask some questions, make sure we're on the same sheet of music. Then you send me home with 15, 20 minutes for the homework to answer some questions over coffee before I start the day, which is no big deal. And I should know answers anyway, right? But if not, it's like, okay, maybe this is a really good question that I should ask. And a few basic follow-up documents like bios and all that. And then, you guys are off to the races. And I don't really want to get in your fees and everything right here, right now, but they're very reasonable. I know you guys don't charge a lot of money at all for this service. It's pretty amazing to me that you can do all of this as easily and quickly. And it seems like you've really systematized this. Now, is this just like a boilerplate template you just crank out for the same person and change the names every single time?
Well, what I will say is that we include the same sections for every business plan. And then for, acquisitions, we do include a transition plan. For all of our business plans that have the SBA underwriter as an audience, there are certain sections that we found to be very effective to include in a certain order to be the most concise way to present this, argument to a bank. And so we try to, we keep that part streamlined, but it is custom for everyone that we work with. Trust me, I've been, trying to figure out how we can get AI to write these, but it's not working.
Chat GPT.
Yeah, they can't write business plans yet. I've tried.
Then Bethany and Ross will be button, right? That's all you're doing. Or hire somebody back in Florida, the button. You guys will just be scuba diving. Okay. That again, that's another important point, because you can DIY this sort of thing all you want. There's a lot of DIY people out there. About entrepreneurs, the blessing and the curse of an entrepreneur is someone who's generally good at a lot of things. And it's like, well, there's a lot of things you probably shouldn't be doing, right? And so you can focus on the things that you should be doing. But understanding, like, if I were to Google a business plan template, buy some template and just try to figure it out myself, may not be the most effective way to do it, not to mention the time, energy, and effort and the data and all that. That's a whole other issue. But just from what you said, knowing what the SBA is looking for, knowing
Yes.
what the underwriter's looking for, having lots of feedback over 7-8 years and how many clients, but I'm sure thousands of clients.
Yeah.
That's got to be invaluable, right?
It really is. And, to tell you the truth, we work with a lot of really talented people that could probably figure this out and, work with the SBA. But let's be real, when you're getting one of these loans, I mean, it is like a marathon, not a sprint. You're having to pull documentation, statements, just like paperwork out the wazoo. We make this whole part of it easy. And, sometimes the bank comes back to us and they're like, hey, in year 2, month 7, we need the cost of goods to say this. And, what if like you're busy running your business? You don't really have time to go back and fix that on the business plan. We have a team of 23 people. We've got someone on the ready at any time to make the changes that we need to make to get, any, revisions that need to be made done so that, we're not holding up the deal. It's not that we finish it quickly because we do, but also, on the back end, if it's been a couple of months down the road and underwriting's like, we need to see it a little bit differently, we're on board for that. And, it's our goal to get the client across the finish line too.
Yeah, well, that's an important point because I know a lot of times that happens as these loans can take 2, 3, 4, 5 months based on what and changes and adjustments, and then you guys will interact with the underwriters and whatnot directly and just kind of get things done.
Absolutely. Sometimes we get a list of questions from an underwriter that we help the client answer, especially if there's like sometimes a language barrier where they're to, help the client, really get their story across to the bank and answer any questions that they may have based upon, the reports that we've given.
That's awesome. That's super, super valuable. Now, so again, not talking fees, but I believe, isn't it the case that whatever fee a client incurs to engage you guys, isn't that part of their equity injection in the SBA requirements?
It sure can, Ross. Do you want to talk about that? Our minimum fee for business plans is $2,600. So it's, it can be pretty affordable, but then Ross, it can definitely tie into that.
Yeah, so it ranges, from 2,600 up to 5,600, and that's from loans under 350,000 up to your $5 million SBA deal. But yeah, we tie it in. Sometimes banks will like to maybe show it as working capital. There's ways that they can do it to where it's not going to be, at the end of the day, it's not going to be necessarily an added expense on top of that injection that the clients or the borrowers expected to put forward.
And so Paul, if a client if they were to keep track of any out-of-pocket expenses, like if they were buying a piece of commercial real estate and they need to get an environmental study done, then, whatever they're paying out of pocket, whether for us, for a business plan or feasibility study, for an environmental study, just keep track of those expenses. And then the bank most times will be able to count it as a project cost. So it can come off the equity injection later.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's really, it's you're going to spend money one way or another. You're going to sink it in the property, the acquisition, or you're going to get somebody like you guys professionally to make sure you get the loan to begin with. Right. Because that's, we all know it's not the easiest process, as you just mentioned, the marathon to go with the SBA or the USDA. And, and they've gotten a lot better, but they have guidelines and they have reasons. They want to make sure that you're of the right character and integrity. You want to make sure that you have the skill set to perform, and they want to make sure that ultimately the bank's going to get paid back. So there's no guarantee that has to kick in. So as we all know, jumping into business is something that is a major commitment, and to know what you're getting into before you jump in is a very important thing to do, and so forth. So just kind of winding down, this is great. Is there anything in particular that we haven't really talked about that maybe that you guys want to bring up or address in the whole process, or just conceptually?
Well, just to be really useful to the person that's out there doing it themselves, we don't want to sell business plans to people that, can do it themselves and have the time to do it. So just to let everyone know, the software that we use is called liveplan.com, and they have a really good basic format for the basic business plan and ways to customize it too. It's a really, decently powerful software that we use. And they're also benchmarking, there's a benchmark section where you can pull benchmarking data as well from that program. And then also just a couple of pointers. The SBA thinks very specifically about the term key, like when referring to key employees. So if you are referring to anyone in your business plan, don't call them a key anything. Just leave that word out. And then also you want to make sure to include 36 months of monthly profit and loss balance sheet and cash flow projections. And that software live plan can help you do that in a plug and play sort of method. But you do want to have the written assumptions for those financials that show, where you arrived at those revenue projections and the cost projections, the expense projections. So as detailed as you can be on that assumption section, that's really going to go a long way towards convincing an underwriter to, give you your. So if you, have a restaurant and, your average cover is, $60 per table and you have 14 tables in the whole place and you expect to turn it 2 times on the average night, that's the sort of thing that you want to be describing in your revenue assumption.
And those assumptions clearly need to be defensible, right? I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. And they need to make sense and be rooted in the real world for sure. Yeah. They should align with your competition. You can check the benchmarking data and see what is, the reasonable revenue per employee, what is reasonable net profit for the type of business like this. There's a lot of data out there that can back up what you're saying.
Here's a question. You mentioned, don't mention key employees. That's kind of a red flag for the SBA. They don't want to see that. What are some other things or maybe other reasons that you've seen sort of failed business plans?
Well, we like to write our business plans to give our clients the best possible shot of getting their deal. So we are not unrealistic with our projections. We're definitely realistic, but we want to work on ways that our clients, will be successful. But what was the question? I lost it, Roz.
She was like, what are some things that were in a business plan that
maybe you've seen somebody DIY a business plan and it goes to, and the banker's like, this is not going to fly. And they come to you and you're like, oh my gosh.
Well, what we really see is like people that are kind of, maybe not realistic about their chances of getting a loan. Like, do they have credit issues or do they have collateral issues or do they have cash issues, and that's really more of what it is. Our business plan is really, it's, giving a realistic overview, not a rosy overview by any means, but a realistic overview of what this business is capable of doing in our estimation. But really, you want to make sure that, you're cash flowing, so that you can comfortably pay back that loan. And you want to have your projections rooted in, logic and things that can be backed up for sure.
Justifiable. Do you have a sort of, in all of your experience, kind of looking back and the people you serve right now, is there sort of like a sweet spot client that you see a lot of, or someone that you do all kinds of businesses like the macaroni and cheese business, which is a kick? I had a client that bought popcorn businesses, which is kind of funny. They would go like resort areas where they had a popcorn business, little mom and pops, and he figured out systems and he would bring his systems in, and that's what he was. Never macaroni and cheese. I'm like, but is there a sweet spot for you guys that you see a lot of?
I would say that there are a lot of particulars that banks seem to like that we end up working with. And so export businesses get a 90% guarantee from the SBA. So we see that banks like to work with those a lot. If there's a commercial real estate element, we see that banks like to work, on those a lot. If there's a franchise that is an established franchise, SBA likes and banks like to work with those businesses as well. So, just the things that make a deal, easier are the things that we see that, make the whole, the deal sweeter, but it could be different for every deal, like this one's great because it's a franchise, or this one's great because they have, a bunch of people lined up to buy it and, just, other reasons. So, which, just further solidifies for me why it is a custom deal to write a business plan for every, single loan thing.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt. No businesses are the same. Wow, this has been great. Ross, any final comments from you? We're pretty much at the end of our time. This has been wonderful.
No, I really appreciate you having us on. Yeah, we thoroughly enjoyed this, but yeah, I think we've kind of covered, a lot. But if there's, anyone out there that wants to, get on a call, we can, I don't know if you could share our information, but my email is ross@rapidbusinessplans.com. Bethany is Bethany@rapidbusinessplans.com. So if you have any questions or you'd like to reach out, please feel free to contact us there and be on a phone call and chat.
Excellent. Well, gang, this has been great. I appreciate it. I love what you do. What a great resource for business owners and entrepreneurs, and for us in the capital world to send people your way, because we don't have time to do this. Right?
No, you guys want your nights and weekends back. Don't ever write a business plan again, please.
Yes,
I hope
yes.
you improved your quality of life just now.
I feel better. My wife will thank you for that, for sure.
Good.
So, yeah. So, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on, and best of luck to you in 2023. I'm sure it's going to be a great year. So, we're excited about that. So, thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.